This is basically going to get kind of controversial. I know the history of Mortal Kombat, the gameplay, the concept, and real and actual folklore history thanks to nostalgia being my motivator and Gaijin Goomba's Yokai Hunters, Witch Ninja, and culture shock videos involving Asian history. And no, I'm not a weeaboo, because I do like other things aside from Asia. Europe has a lot of folklore and mythology that I like as well. Anyways, most of my research is relying on YouTube videos. I'll leave links to my counter-arguments in the description below. I'll also give out more thoughts aside from the videos. Feel free to look this up from other websites such as Wikipedia if you like to know more about Mortal Kombat, practicality, and real history and folklore. Let's begin.
Damn. NetherRealm, I'm usually on your side when it comes to the changes you make for your latest games, but you just released a bullshit excuse for something that affects more than just sex appeal for female fighters in MK11. See, I love NetherRealm Studios for many reasons, one of those being Injustice 2. I love that game and continue playing it online to this day, but it sucks to know that some female gear pieces were removed because they were a little too revealing. When I first heard about
I like how the first example of this he uses is one that genuinely looks like a cause for concern. I mean, for real, dude, Wonder Woman's butt cheeks are just straight hanging out. Now, normally you'd say, oh, but Snake, aren't you in favor of women dressing how they want without judgment? And you're right. But the problem here is, these aren't autonomous women, and therefore this ends up looking like Wonder Woman was modeled by a guy who had a boner at the time. It's that pesky male gaze that everyone likes to use as a punchline since they don't understand it.
Yeah, I can't say if it's true or not, but I will say that it is an assumption and not a safe one at best. You should at least back it up by doing research on this. Considering later he shows female characters being brutally murdered and injury images to have me safely assume he's not doing this because he wants to do it like they do it on the Discovery Channel, but to show that Mortal Kombat isn't entirely sex appeal but more like brutal injuries and deaths. I'm not going to take your word on this.
When I first heard about this, I just told myself, hey, it's DC characters, not Mortal Kombat. Kids will play this game, so it's understandable. Just wait for Mortal Kombat 11. They'll give you both Injustice 2 graphics and possibly the same gameplay, but most importantly, you don't have to worry about censorship with that game.
So I take it you aren't aware of the various controversies surrounding Mortal Kombat, have you? I'm not saying Mortal Kombat games should be censored, because, well, we all know how well that worked out the last time, but Mortal Kombat as a series has been subject to censorship attempts in the past, and it's caused them to find workarounds to avoid sales prohibition. Despite what you may think, Mortal Kombat doesn't have a complete freedom over what happens in their game. M-rated game doesn't mean free-for-all.
That example you shown is basically the same or similar thing he's shown. And since you don't have any idea whether or not he has played that game, since you assume not only censorship towards this game and not because they wanted to make it similar to the DC style, but show no proof why it is the way it is, I can't take your word for it. A real example you should have shown was the game ratings because of Mortal Kombat. People were going to sue the producers of Mortal Kombat because of the fatalities, or at least a person who acts like a soccer mom. Also, anyone who has played this, could you answer whether or not it was sex appeal in a way? It's been a while since I played it.
Why would you cater towards the wrong audience? Clearly this statement of yours is total bullshit. You're not fooling anyone. I mean, what happened, NetherRealm?
What happened? Did your balls drop off?
I thought you guys didn't give a shit about critics and censorship. Now you're suddenly trying to be, what, family friendly? When you can do this? No MK fan in the history of Mortal Kombat has ever demanded for female Muslim outfits.
Of course you would belong to the thousands of fuckheads who think Scarlet's dressed like a Muslim. She's actually dressed like a hooded ninja, which makes sense because she is basically supposed to be the new evil Katana, supplanting Molina, I guess. Besides, there are outfit choices that do let her show more skin, as with the other female characters. Hell, Cetrian's default attire is nothing but a bunch of raggy cloth made from leaves. You're pretty much getting worked up over nothing.
This is going to be, and I'm not 100% sure, just majorly about this, but if there are Indian ninja garb, then Gaijin might need to focus on Indian folklore more, because ninjas don't wear red. While in Europe, red is aggressive and the mark of evil, Asia use this color to repel evil. Do you want to know what real ninja wear? Not black, but blue. Navy blue. And this is more of a nitpick. While female ninjas may have done traditional practices, they were mostly known for seducing men for information. As for weapons, whether or not it was real or folklore, female warriors tend to carry lances because of their long reach. Though, a sickle also has reach. I'm not sure whether or not it's similarly effective as a lance.
This is complete bullshit. Did they forget what Mortal Kombat was all about?
You mean they remembered that they were making a fighting game and not a Victoria's Secret commercial? For real, you're a fucking idiot if you think dressing the women up in bikinis was what the games were all about. And I don't entirely buy this as sarcasm given how you made a whole 10-minute video about this subject.
How are you that naive to think he thinks this is sex appeal? You know, because he's into fighting brutally that it looks like something out of a recent action horror show or movie. But even if that's the case, allow me to play devil's advocate. He could be turned on not only just porn, but torture porn as well. There is a thing called fetishes, you know.
This means we're never getting a game like MK9 with today's graphics. This was a major missed opportunity, and we all loved Mortal Kombat 9 because it straight up didn't give a fuck about what critics or anyone would say. Mortal Kombat was the tits, but now Mortal Kombat hates the tits. And look at Jackie Briggs. You guys literally flattened her chest.
They realistically proportion her body. She's also wearing a vest and a breastplate over that in the picture on the right. People like this make me think that they've never actually met a real woman before.
I will agree to this halfway since girls with big breasts are naturally possible. I will add that battle scars and cybernetic replacements can also be sexy. Not to mention practical-wise flat-chested warriors tend to have the most advantages in the battlefield. One more thing to this, giving a female like cybernetic chest is possible. They just wouldn't look too big.
Another big problem will be Mortal Kombat's battle damage. Sure, they won't have a problem adding lots of blood covering their bodies, but their clothing cannot be torn. Otherwise, that would show some skin, and that's not allowed, you perverts.
Yeah, can you prove that's the reason battle damage is less pronounced in the newer installments? Because the only reason I've been able to find for it is because the more subtle cuts and blood splatter are meant to fit in with the Mortal Kombat's more realistic character models than the cartoony nature of MK9, hence why Molina has lips now. I know my proof comes from a forum, but it's still more than anything you've brought to the table.
I'm still leaning on the torture porn theory. Battle wounds are still a thing. I'm pretty sure he likes the style of Mortal Kombat.
This is insanely detailed. They even had fun with some characters' battle damage like Melina. She's got a bloody handprint on a butt cheek. That's hilarious! But also, you can clearly tell that a character cannot continue fighting after looking like this. Even Deadly Alliance has better battle damage than the latest MK games. And why is that? Because they went all out instead of shaming female characters for the way they dress. This one piece of censorship fucked up more than women's sexy attire. Battle damage couldn't be this detailed because too much skin is revealed. You can't customize characters to look like their old video game versions because those pieces would be too revealing. And now our favorite sexy female fighters are being covered from head to toe, so it's more realistic? Get the fuck out of here with that crap.
Hey, Cetrion again says hi.
I already made the argument that female warriors would wear less to distract and seduce men, and ninja don't wear red. I will say that green is a good color to wear during the day in nature. Heck, green is used in camouflage today.
Oh yeah, I'm sure my opponent would still be fighting as if nothing ever happened, even after pulling an X-ray move on them. Let someone like Baraka easily one-hit kill anyone if his blades stab through his opponent's head. Or what is that, too real? You want reality in Mortal Kombat? I got a whole list of bullshit tips for realism in Mortal Kombat. Let's put Cassie Cage against her dad Johnny Cage. Clearly they wouldn't want to hurt each other, or God forbid, kill each other. So commands would basically lock up automatically, and this only allows you to move your character around until the time limit expires. You guys liking reality so far? It's fucking dope, right? Still need some convincing, Ed? Look at the WWE. Look at both the male and female wrestlers. Do they wear a shit ton of clothing when they're about to wrestle? Of course not! They'd be sweating their balls off if they had to wrestle with outfits covering them from head to toe.
So you go on and on earlier about how Mortal Kombat isn't real and how it's just entertainment, and even now just mention how extra fictional the games can be with their X-ray moves and fatal blows, yet you're somehow still gonna plug reality in when it comes to the female characters being fully clothed? Nuh-uh, it doesn't work that way. Either it shouldn't be realistic or it should be. Pick one and go with it.
First off, Mortal Kombat is more about entertainment than it is about realism. Second, wrestling and video games are a form of entertainment. It has no realism whatsoever. And thirdly, both sides of the coin are equally important. If you want to use that logic, take your own advice on this, because you have been flip-flopping as well.
Look at the female wrestlers. My god, are they drop-dead gorgeous. I bet an Amish guy would easily drop their beliefs if they ever saw this kind of entertainment. Should wrestlers basically cover up as well? I don't think Vince McMahon is ever going to tone down the sex appeal of these wrestlers when it's a major part of the entertainment.
Natalia, Beth Phoenix, and Tamina Snuka just called. They told you to shut the fuck up because you don't know what you're talking about.
Cherry picking, aren't we? It would have been better if you used more examples to make it stronger. He's shown more examples than you did.
Mortal Kombat cannot work with censorship. You saw what happened when they made Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. You added some cool new features, but you couldn't add the blood and gore that made us love MK, so the game sucked. You also censored the female outfits like removing Sonya's thong, but it had to be done since the game was rated T and the game includes DC comic book characters, so the least they could do is have fun with it and leave a tan line.
Oh, so he is aware of the game. Well, at least I got my answer. As for you, Nihilistic, why didn't you catch this in the commentary? All this shows is that you didn't care what examples you used to make sure it wasn't brought up, making you look like an idiot beating a dead horse.
Censorship had to be implemented to a game with DC comic book characters, and I understood that MK vs. DC Universe and Injustice 1 and 2 couldn't go all out like MK games. But now that you have the opportunity to go all out, you cater towards the wrong audience, and you know it too, you just don't want to admit it since you give us this bullshit excuse of why women in Mortal Kombat are censored.
They don't need to excuse anything. They're not doing anything wrong by redesigning some characters' outfits. It's not your game to decide what's right for it or not. Yes, what you like in the game is important, but that doesn't mean you know better than the devs who actually make them for you. When you act like that, you just sound like an entitled douchebag.
Hey, Pot, this is the kettle. He says you're black.
Okay, I'll be honest here. This video is far from the worst one I've covered on this subject, and this guy is pretty negligible in his own right, but this video was still a huge pile of shit. Pretty much every complaint score made here, I've heard from some cringy neckbeard who still whines about Anita Sarkeesian every day. What really annoyed me the most is how entitled you acted throughout this video. You pissed yourself all because you couldn't jerk off to a bunch of video game characters anymore and made it sound like NetherRealm or assholes for it. You also made it sound like the game was broken because of it. And on top of everything else, this video is fucking boring! Look, pal, if you want to get your rocks off, look up porn. As far as video making goes, try to not sound like an entitled douchebag who thinks he's the center of the multiverse. Not everyone's gotta think about what you want in order for the product to be good. Thanks for watching. This is the Nihilistic Snake slithering out of here.
I couldn't agree more with you. Take your own advice. Not only that, but do your research. Most of the stuff you brought up you thought were not realistic and can be traced back to my sources. When James Rolfe and Gaijin Goomba have more knowledge about this, you know you're doing something wrong. Give a like, comment, share the video, subscribe, and click the bell to get notified for more of my work.